Dave Chappelle is back in hot water following the release of his latest Netflix comedy special called The Closer, and many celebrities are speaking out against the controversial comedian. I'm Mackenzie, and let's get into the celebrities who tried to warn us about Dave Chappelle. But first, make sure to subscribe if you're new here and want to see more. First up, we got Joel Kim Booster. Comedian and actor Joel Kim Booster shared his thoughts on Dave Chappelle's homophobic and racist joke about Asians in his Netflix special Sticks and Stones. In an interview with All of It, the Korean American responded to the joke, which includes Chappelle doing a racist impression of a Chinese person, in an effort to make a jab at trans people. Chappelle joked that if trans people were born in the wrong body, he could apply that same logic to race, then making a point to include that his wife is Asian. When asked about the joke, Booster said, quote, "It's kind of sad. I think Chappelle used to have really interesting and precedent things to say about power structures and things like that, and I just don't think he's interested in dismantling that anymore. At least not from an interesting place, or at least not from beyond his own point of view, which in his right as a comic I guess, but I felt a little bit, old when I watched it." Next up, Michael Jackson's Accusers. During his hit Netflix comedy special Sticks and Stones, Dave Chappelle took aim at Michael Jackson accusers Wade Robson and James Safechuck. The pair had just come forward in a documentary revealing that while they were friends with Jackson as kids, they were sexually abused. In Sticks and Stones, Chappelle flat out says he doesn't believe the pair. He then shared a dark joke, saying that the men should almost be proud that they had that experience with Michael Jackson because of his fame and stature. Chappelle then responded to claims that they went on free trips with Jackson to Hawaii, with Chappelle adding, quote, "I know it's harsh, but somebody's gotta teach these kids there's no such thing as a free trip to Hawaii." In statements to TMZ, both Robson and Safechuck responded to Chappelle's routine. Safechuck said, quote, "I'm heartbroken for all those children who look to see how they will be received when they finally find the courage to speak out about their abuse. I just want to reach out to other survivors and let them know that we can't let this type of behavior silence us. Together we are strong." Robson's lawyer added that, quote, "It's unfortunate that Chappelle has chosen to use his platform to shame victims and spread his ignorance about the way it's perpetrated upon children." Next up, Eve 6. Following Chappelle's controversial comments about the trans community in his latest special, The Closer, rock band Eve 6 decided to share their thoughts on Twitter. During the special, Chappelle labeled himself a TERF and said that gender is a fact, even adding every person in the world had to pass through a woman's legs to be on Earth, then adding that genitalia the trans women have is like Beyond Meat or the Impossible Burger. The band later tweeted about the comments, quote, "Dave Chappelle says Twitter isn't a real place, and he's right. The real places are the alleys and underpasses where trans people on the margins are murdered because of societal prejudice that he is lazily defending under the pretense of intellectual bravery." However, many criticized this tweet, saying the band missed the full picture about what was said in the special. Next up, Key and Peele. Dave Chappelle is beloved by those in the comedy world other than Key and Peele. This is because Chappelle threw some shade at the pair during an interview with Gayle King for CBS. During that interview, Chappelle admitted that it hurt him to see the pair using the types of comedy that he fought hard to establish during Chappelle's show without any credit. He said, quote, "I fought very hard when I watched Key and Peele, and I see they're doing a format that I created, and at the end of the show it says created by Key and Peele. That hurts my feelings." The pair never directly responded to Chappelle's accusations, but Jordan Peele indirectly responded on Twitter. After a few fans were speaking amongst themselves that Key and Peele stole Dave's show, Peele responded in a tweet of his own, responding, quote, "Everything's gonna be alright fellas," along with a photo of him and Chappelle speaking. Next up, the organization Glaad. After Chappelle premiered his latest comedy special, backlash flooded in about his jokes against the LGBT+ community. The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation organization even tweeted condemning Chappelle. They wrote, quote, "Dave Chappelle's brand has become synonymous with ridiculing trans people and other marginalized communities. Negative reviews and viewers loudly condemning his latest special is a message to the industry that audiences don't support platforming anti-LGBTQ diatribes. We agree." And this is just one of many organizations that have spoken out against Chappelle and his jokes that target the community. Next up, Jaclyn Moore. Like I said above, Chappelle's special The Closer has generated tons of backlash from the LGBT+ community, specifically trans people. Jaclyn Moore is one of those people. She's a trans writer for shows like Dear White People and the upcoming Peacock reboot of Queer as Folk. But she said on Twitter following the special that she is done with Netflix for supporting Chappelle's jokes. Moore tweeted, quote, "I love so many of the people that I've worked with at Netflix. Brilliant people and executives who've been collaborative and fought for important art. But I've been thrown against walls because I'm not a real woman, and I've had beer bottles thrown at me, so Netflix, I'm done." Adding in another tweet, quote, "I will not work with them as long as they continue to put out and profit from blatantly and dangerously transphobic content." After the tweets, it was reported that Jaclyn Moore along with 2 other Netflix staff were suspended for tweeting about the show, but it was revealed after that they were actually suspended for trying to crash a meeting that was happening between the bigwigs at the company. It seems that Chappelle is not fazed by the backlash, and even said following the backlash at another stand-up show, quote, "If this is what being cancelled is like, I love it," he said as the crowd gave him a standing ovation. And finally, at number 1, Dave Chappelle himself. The person who does the most to warn us about Dave Chappelle is himself, as he continues to make jokes that he knows will get him cancelled, although he doesn't really seem to care. After facing tons of backlash for The Closer, he told a Los Angeles crowd, quote, "If this is what being cancelled is like, I love it." He continued by trashing liberal-leaning organizations, saying, quote, "F Twitter, F NBC News, ABC News, all of these stupid networks. I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to you. This is real life." In many of his specials, Dave addresses the LGBT community and tries to respond to the claims that they've made about him from his controversial jokes. He even jokingly called himself a, quote, "transphobic comedian" in his latest special, leaning into the names that the media has given him. At this time, it seems that Dave might know he's pushed the limits of his comedy too far, as he announced he is going to be taking a break from comedy following the release of his special. He even ended off his last show saying he will no longer be making jokes about the LGBT community, saying, quote, "I am not telling another joke about you until we are both sure we are laughing together. I'm telling you, I'm done. I'm done talking. All I ask from your community with all humility, will you please stop punching down on my people?" Which was a controversial reference insinuating that LGBTQ+ community is punching down on the black community. So that's all for the list today, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on everything below. But before I go, I'm going to shout out some comments from my collaboration with Brie on Nice Celebrities. Lee Gary said, "My favorites are Dolly Parton, Keanu Reeves, and Chris Evans. You should have added Jason Momoa and Lenny Kravitz too, they are both awesome." Really, yeah, Jason Momoa, definitely, everybody loves him. Lenny Kravitz, I don't know why I heard something about him. I don't get like fully, I feel like I've heard like bad things about him, but I don't personally get bad vibes from him. Then Corky said, "I can honestly say Alice Cooper is the sweetest, most generous man, hands down." Really, that's very interesting. Clearly, it seems you had a actual in-person interaction with him. That's very, very cool. Then A.L. Swiss said, "Gotta love Saint Dolly." Number 1, love that Saint Dolly reference. We said that at the very end, put Saint Dolly. She is the best. Dolly Parton is so great. It's like the more I learn about her, the more I'm like, she is such a queen that we all just need to bow down to. She's literally a saint. Indoctrinate her into the Saint Hall of Fame. Don't know if that's a thing at all, into sainthood. Somebody do that. Alright guys, that's all for the video today. Thanks so much for sticking around if you made it all the way here. If you liked the video and you want to see more, make sure to like and sub to the channel below. I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith. Make sure to check us out on social media, and I'll catch you all in the next one.